Merlin, I have an idea. Yes, my lord? What if we took one old guy and another old guy, oh sweet mother of mercy, my lord, and fuse them? Thank you to our fellow patrons, Strawbones, Rebel4765, and Midnight Gemlord. Now, before I do this breakdown / discussion on the concept of Chaos Fusion, please, if you leave your own thoughts on Chaos Fusion in the comment section down below, leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, hit that little notification bell so you miss out on any videos that come on the channel. Also, I do a Patreon down below. It's more for as low as $1 a month. You can get exclusive videos, early content, and more. You can also now become a member to the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Now, let's hop into the discussion. What's up, guys? Uncle Pencil here, and yeah, Chaos Fusion is a thing now, and I'm not exactly sure how I feel about it. Mainly because, like, I like fusion. Don't get me wrong. It's one of my favorite things to thing, really, because fusing characters together leads to really interesting combo potential, really interesting move sets, all the stuff like that, complementary powers, and usually really cool designs. But at least so far, with our primary example of Chaos Fusion, I kind of don't like it. And here's why, right? It seems like, at least with Melegaland, Nakaba tried to make it as ugly as possible. And notably, once again, Nakaba is a much more experienced artist than I'm not saying I could do better, but like, off the top of my domer, I think it would have been cool to see Melascula infused with Galen's armor, or something like Galen in armored snake form, or something like that. But the way he fused them was like, I don't know, it barely resembled either of them, other than they had Melascula's human head and Melascula's snake head and some of Melascula's human torso. And then Galen essentially got turned into a mushroom with legs. And Galen doesn't look like that. I don't know where it's like some of the body proportions got mixed up really, really weird. And I get it, right? It's supposed to be chaotic. A lot of the things that Arthur creates are not pretty. Like, seriously, look at his arm, really, Chaos itself. It is not the most visually appealing of things. So I get what Nakaba's going for here on a design front. He's very much keeping everything within the Chaos aesthetic, that weird amalgam strange thing. But like, the Chaos Resurrections look cool. Sure, still not the biggest fan of Galen's, but at least it was like somewhat resembling Galen. And Melascula's was just cool. I think it was a direct side grade. Once again, Melascula's original design is very iconic, but I like the leotard on Chaos Melascula better. I even think the hair is pretty cool. So, like, it's possible. Nakaba can do things that look good in terms of keeping with the Chaos aesthetic for the most part. But for the fusion, at least for our first one, right? Because all things are very dependent on first impressions, right? Like, meeting people, a video, anything in life, you usually get a first impression of it and you like it or dislike it. And at least with this first impression of these Chaos Fusions, I'm kind of like, I kind of don't want to see you again. Because, like, Nakaba has really, really good character designs. Like, I cannot think, like, I'm trying to go through this series in my head, and, like, anything above a side character is usually designed really, really well. Which is why I think the Chaos Fusion disappoints me so much, because it's like, I know you can do better than this. I know you can do better than this while staying within the Chaos aesthetic. So I'm not exactly sure how I feel about it, and I kind of don't want him to mutilate other designs. Like, a big one I'm still thinking of, and still going to get their own video, is a Demon King and Supreme Deity fusion, right? Because it seems only natural. If we're going to have some villains from the past come back, and, you know, Chaos literally created those two with a thought, it would be entirely possible for Arthur to resurrect them and fuse them together, or have them fuse together in a final resort, maybe even as a retaliation against Arthur, who knows. But with that being the case, those two have really good designs. So did Galen and Melascula, and I do not want them to turn into a weird mushroom thing. And of course, the aesthetic will vary drastically. Melascula and Galen, while they are two characters that constantly hung around each other, they were not, like, remotely compatible at all design-wise. At least not to the same degree like a Demon King and Supreme Deity are. Like, the Demonic Supreme Deity is something that I have a clear idea of in my head of what it could look like when fusing the two together. But, once again, for Galen and Melascula, it's kind of like, I'm not exactly sure what you would do aesthetically. You could leave it to the snake stuff and give it armor. But then again, that's a weird thing about Chaos Galen on the design front, too. Because despite Chaos Galen being mostly flesh, Melegaland did pick up some of the armor aesthetic. Meanwhile, the only piece of the armor aesthetic that was actually remnant on Chaos Galland was the helmet. Or his head. But even then, that barely counted as armor, because that turned to flesh too. So honestly, whatever Nakaba does with their design is sort of random. Like, even the leotard on Chaos Galland, no, get that image in your head, Chaos Galland and a leotard. No, but the leotard on Chaos Melascula is not the same leotard that spawns on Meligaland. So it's a little bit, it's very weird how Nakaba decides to design them. But that could just be a first go thing, right? This is a new concept that Nakaba just introduced, and the two characters that he was fusing together were not very compatible. So maybe on an aesthetic front, I'm a bit too worried. Like, I'm looking way too deep into it just because I'm like, it's ugly. But, you know, first time for everything, right? And the biggest part of the Chaos Fusion that I think makes it most interesting is not necessarily the power of them, not necessarily, well, very much the design. I do want to see more of Nakaba's crazy design work, especially fusing two characters. I think it's just a cool concept. Like, I love fusion in pretty much any series it's introduced in. So the more fusion, the better in my mind. But regardless of that, I think the major thing that intrigues me, that I also think Meligaland was pretty weak for, but not of their own fault, was the fusion abilities. Like, hypothetically, the kits that you could get out of fusing two separate characters together can go crazy. Like, imagine a proper demon goddess hybrid. Look at Tristan so far, and imagine him being able to use both of his powers at the same time. That could go crazy. Two demons with very unique skill sets combining their abilities would be cool. Like, hypothetically, even though it literally can't happen because Thetis is a being that exists, and obviously she's Daria's reincarnation. I don't think we have any combat over that. And Monspeet, I mean, he's packed, and I don't think he would fuse with Thetis, and I'm not even sure if he would get the same abilities of fusing with Thetis. But, hypothetically, Monspeet and Dariari fusing would lead to a very interesting fusion because of how unique their magics are and how cool it would be to see them work together. Like, Combo Star plus Trick Star would be really, really cool to see, and that's the main thing I want to see out of Chaos Fusions if they ever do come back. I want to see more interesting magic combos, because the thing with Maligaland is, like, Critical Over is Galland's only magic outside of the basic demon stuff, which, due to, like, I guess copyright reasons, Galland just couldn't use, and mainly plot, right? Like, you couldn't have Galland running around smacking the souls out of people because, well, he was only fighting our main cast, and obviously our main cast aren't gonna get eaten by Galland this quickly. The only one that could have hypothetically worked on is Gawain, because, like, if he smacked Gawain upside the head, took her soul, and tried to eat it, he would get the sunshine treatment all over again. At least presumably. I wonder if the sunshine... See, I'm speaking, ironically enough, so many things that sort of just become common in our understanding of the series, even though they haven't been confirmed. Like, technically, we don't know if Gawain has a limited version of Sunshine, but I think we all agree that she does. So maybe it wouldn't be as effective because Escanor's version was unlimited, and we know that magic ties into the soul, so we don't know how much the limiter would go on there. But still, the whole idea of soul ripping and eating is something that just wouldn't work for who Galland was specifically fighting, and obviously the rest of Galland's attacks are mainly physical. So on the magical front, since he was already in Critical Over by the time he fused, you couldn't do much with him, and you sort of had to rely on Melascula's magical abilities, which are still cool. We still got some new attacks from her, but overall, it's not as interesting as other fusions could be. And admittedly, once again, we are very limited in the fusion front, just because of, like, how many characters are relevant on the power front. However, the recent narrative change has allowed it so that characters can be brought back and actually still be threats. Like, now that we have split into 3 groups and Lancelot is gone from the other 2 groups, Chaos Commandments that fuse together could still very much be a threat, which is good. We can now use them again. So, like, imagine Fraudrin and Grey Road being revived and then fused together. You get Full Size in combination with Grey Road's magical ability. So she has, like, titanic bugs coming out of her body and also just spamming 5 lost everywhere as Fraudrin is scraping at the ground. Like, you could have very interesting magical combinations coming from existing characters. And seeing how magic interacts when fused with other magic will be very interesting. And that's another perk that you only get from fusing characters. Sure, you can get certain things from characters just working together. Like, obviously, we got some pretty interesting magic combos into each other when we got to see Tristan, Gawain, and Percy fight together. But something hits different when it's coming from the same person. Like, sure, you can have Goku and Vegeta do a Kamehameha and a Big Bang, but that doesn't hit the same as a Big Bang Kamehameha. or Final Flash and Kamehameha, or a final Kamehameha. Like, the source of the attack coming from the same being makes it 10 times better than when it's coming from two separate beings. I don't know. That's why fusion is so cool, and I think the magical front is where we can get the most out of these abilities, because Seven Deadly Sins is admittedly one of the series that's very, very good at diversifying magical abilities. Like, the big thing that Dragon Ball sort of lacks in, after a while, is that, like, it's all ki. It's all ki blast, and it's all fists. And that's fine, and it can work very, very well. You can use ki and fists and feet, and especially feet, in completely different ways, and that's what allows the series to stay diverse after all this time running. But in something like Seven Deadly Sins, pretty much everyone has a unique ability. The only clans that don't have ways to compensate for it, like how they use their unique ability. Like, Diane uses creation differently than Matrona, and Matrona uses it differently than Dolores. And we get to see the Fairy Clan, even if a majority of their members don't necessarily have anything outside of nature manipulation, we have the variant of the Spirit Spears. And the Demon Clan each has their own unique magic after you get to a certain level. And then, of course, you have the Goddess Clan, who also isn't very unique, but at the same time, they have the 4 Archangels who have their graces and their unique magical abilities that come from that. And so on and so forth. So, like, the melting pot of possible fusion options is essentially unlimited, and especially considering we have a massive, more powerful, more relevant human cast in the Chaos Knights, also means that we don't have to just limit ourselves to Chaos Resurrections doing Chaos Fusion. We can have duos of Chaos Knights do Chaos Fusion, and then combine their powers in unique ways. Like, I don't think it would happen, but imagine, hypothetically, if Pelgar and Ironside were to team up to try and take down the 4 Knights, only to realize, oh lord, they've gotten gains, and bada bing, bada boom, they do a temporary, because I don't think you want to take those characters out in a fusion sense. But, like, even if it was a permanent fusion where you get to see Ironside's, have we ever got a name for his magic? Whatever the light crosses are, fuse with Pelgar's blaze, and then you have, like, dark blaze crosses that he can fire out at random, and they have all the properties of his blaze, and he can manipulate the light into different forms because it's like fire now. Like, the different combinations on a magical front that can come from this lead to much more interesting battles in terms of magical diversity. And obviously with a magic-based series, the more diverse your battles are, because magics are being fused, combined, and used in different ways, I think it leads to infinitely more interesting battles. And I think it actually kind of feeds into the power creep of 4 Knights in terms of our 4 Knights. Like, looking back on our original crew of Seven Deadly Sins, they were relatively simple when you think about it. Meliodas is just a really strong demon. Sure, he has a lot of demon abilities, but that's it. He has demon abilities and, like, darkness manipulation at a really high level. That's all he had. Bon, he was an immortal dude who could steal you. He stopped using the power stealing thing really, really quick. So he really was just a strong dude that could rob your heart out, which was admittedly very crazy. King had everything. Oh, King was kind of weird. Bro had all the sauce. All the sauce in the book. So King was a little bit off. Merlin, a mage with a lot of diversity, but mainly just a powerful mage. Diane, rock. Nothing else. Gother, mental manipulation, really nothing else. Escanor, hot. Very, very hot. The end. Meanwhile, all of our 4 Knights are kind of fusions in of themselves when you think about it. Percy has every single power under the sun, and we probably haven't even seen all of them. Plus the fact that he has a whole other side to his powers that we've barely even explored. Lancelot, while he is just a fairy-human hybrid, he also has access to light magic. Because why not? Shining Road just is Shining Road for Shining Road by Shining Road. And that's kind of crazy. Then, of course, you have Tristan, the literal demon goddess human hybrid, who has all the special sauce that could ever be special sauce in the book right here, right now. And Gawain is literally a combination of Merlin and Escanor, with all of Merlin's magical abilities and Escanor's sunshine. So the idea of Chaos Fusion actually works pretty well in comparison for our enemies, because they're literally facing fusions, essentially. Except these fusions are independent beings, which is just as crazy as it sounds. So overall, I definitely think if we're not going to keep Chaos Resurrections, Chaos Fusion should stick around, because they lead to amazing design details, or potentially amazing designs. Like I said, Melagallon just is not my cup of tea. New magical abilities, which are great for fights. And also, it could just be interesting exploration of characters. Like, imagine 2 Chaos Knights have to fuse, and they, like, have this weird thing where their mindsets are working together in these weird, strange ways. Like, fusion is an interesting concept, and I'm glad that it's been introduced into the Seven Deadly Sins world, and we can hypothetically see it further expanded on down the line. However, that's what I think. Please let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you guys for watching. Please to like, share, comment, and subscribe. You can little notification bells to miss out on any videos I come on the channel. Also, I do a Patreon down below. It's more visible as $1 a month. Exclusive videos, early content, and more. You can also now become a member to the channel for as little as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Zach with the Pencil, writing off.